Welcome to the Studio Chat podcast, the podcast designed to be your companion in the journey of self-discovery. I'm Barbara Thompson, your host, and a dedicated therapist. I'm the founder and owner of Self-Care Studio, a private counselling practice. With my clients, in courses that I create, on this podcast, I am committed to ensuring that you have the support that you need. I created this podcast as a space for you to feel a sense of connection and a reminder that you're not alone in this thing that we call life, this adventure. This podcast is your weekly reminder to trust yourself, live life authentically, and embrace the path that is uniquely yours. Together, we'll explore ways to break free from people-pleasing, overthinking, allowing you to claim your time and energy to live life on your terms. You'll be joined by myself as I take you through some episodes, or during the year, I'll have some special self-care experts as guests on my podcast. So if you're ready to step into a life that's truly for you, join me on this journey. Let's navigate the twists and turns of life together, and more importantly, live your life for you. So thank you so much for choosing to spend some time with me today. Let the Studio Chat begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Studio Chat podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about something that's very near and dear to me, something I'm very passionate about, something that when you're in it, you don't know you're in it, and it's something that when I've come out the other side, it's really changed my life, and I'm so excited to be speaking to such a powerful, amazing, incredible woman today. Her name is Maggie Boillot in Colorado. It's my morning, it's her evening. I'm dressed in like winter, if you can imagine, like I'm dressed in like a winter flannel sheet. I'm cold, and then I'm looking at Maggie and she's tanned and glowing and like in a summer outfit. So you can see that we're talking like in our seasons. But I'd love to welcome you, Maggie, to the Studio Chat podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be a part of this and share stories so that women know that they are not alone. Especially when we go through things in the heat of those moments, we can feel very alone. So I'm here to share a very kind of special story to myself or for you guys to understand. You're not alone. And there's actually a lot more women in this world who have been through it just like you have or are going through it. And I definitely want to help women understand how to come out on top after a toxic relationship.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So today we're going to be talking about women that lose themselves through toxic relationships. And this can be a working relationship, a friendship, a relationship, to reclaim ourselves, be more in line with ourselves, and be our more authentic self. So do you want to share a little bit about your story with us, Maggie?
I would love to. So it took me a while to be able to share the story, to want to change other women's lives. It was kind of a story that I didn't know that I wanted to share or should share. But I am glad that I did step out and want to share it with people, because once you are able to see it from the outside and almost listen to it over and over again, it changes your mind on, wow, why did I put up with this for so long? And so a little bit about my story is I was about 24 years old, met a man who was about 39 and swept me off my feet in lots of different ways. And we decided to connect and build a business together. So he had children. I got kind of caught up in the entire environment of excitement around building a business, having kids, all the things. And fast forward into our relationship, it was extremely toxic. I didn't necessarily know what toxic meant, didn't know the word narcissist very well. And I didn't truly understand what other people were seeing that I wasn't seeing. Because when you're in the thick of it, it's love, it's passion, it's excitement, it's new, it's fun. And so about 3 or 4 years into this relationship, I was really caught off guard around all the deceit, lies, cheating, manipulation. But my young 29-year-old self didn't quite understand how to get out. And so there was a lot of more years of my life not wasted. Definitely something to help me reclaim who I was or re-find that fire that was inside of me. So um, it took me a long time to understand what life really was outside of a toxic relationship, or what a life would look like that I deserved. And that was one of the hardest parts of this story. Was I had to lose everything that I worked so hard for, to then actually, in all reality, reclaim who I was and who I am meant to be. So I have a story of losing everything that I thought I had in my life and I was working hard towards, to really actually figuring out that it was to become the best version of myself. So most oftentimes, us as women, we think that when we lose a relationship, even if it is toxic, we don't know where life begins again. So I am here to share kind of my story around that, and understanding that even if you feel like you are never going to be able to breathe again, um, find love again, find a new job, a new career, life is always brighter once you get out of the toxicity.
Because when you're in it, I mean, there's so many different stages we're going to talk about within the beginning, the middle, and the end, and then after. I kind of want to break it down like that. I'm just going to skip to when we decide to, however we leave our toxic relationship. The breakaway is just as hard, because even when you've broken away and you know it's the best thing, I don't know about you, but I was still very much attached. Like, did you find that when you broke away, you logically are like, okay, this person's treating me like dirt. This person is this. I know this is not good for me. I am a shell of a person. I don't know what I like anymore. I don't know what interests I have. I don't know anything about myself, because everything I did was for them. And then you kind of morph yourself into them, because that's their plan. That is their plan. They only have one rule. They only have one book that they go by, and they use it in every single relationship they have until it doesn't work, and then they discard us. So my question is, yeah, how did you go with when you kind of left? I'm going to start at the back and then work. Yeah, how did you have that feeling like I did? Even though you pulled away, did you have that feeling of, oh, like the love bombing in the beginning is so heavy that when that's taken away, you really miss it?
100%. I think it's also too, when you are in toxic relationships, or the tank of toxicity, you become addicted to the cycle. So you don't know what's normal. So when I left, it was almost like I was creating something else in my life to have toxicity, because I was in that cycle of, it was good and then it was bad, and then it was cheating and then it was okay, and then it was this and then it was that. And so a lot of times I think us as women, we tend to try to look for the best in someone, and maybe men do this too. But I think for us as women, we really strive to think, okay, I love this person and what can I do? So then when you have to break away from it, I think that that love might even still be there. But it's a different type of love. And it's that love that you have to get rid of, because in all reality, it's that you love a person, you don't love yourself anymore. And that's very important, is to love who you are, in a relationship, not love just the relationship, or maybe what the facade of this relationship could be.
Hmm. Yeah, not loving yourself. But we choose these people, and they choose us because we both don't love it. We don't love ourselves. And it's interesting that you say that, because it's the idea of them, right? When we first meet them and they love bomb us, which is the constant good morning, beautiful, good night, beautiful, the text, the liking on social media, and just the heaviness that and everything moves so quickly. It's the idea they're very good at in the beginning, finding all your hopes, all your dreams and everything and saying something like, oh my God, that's exactly what I want. Or, oh, I can't believe I finally found the love of my life. Or, oh, you're not like anyone else I've ever met because my last ex or my last partner was blah, 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 right?
Oh yeah. That's the sure tail sign of a narcissist that's trying to just swoon you in. I think they know that, um, like you say, the love bombing. It's very important as a female. I think we look for that in somebody that will treat us the way we want to be treated, um, or do that. But in so many ways, they do that with such a backhanded way that in all reality they don't necessarily mean those things. It's just that manipulation factor of, let me just get her kind of wrapped around my finger. And then for me it was a lot of lies that were, I was made to look as if I was the crazy psycho weirdo, when I would question things or certain things just didn't feel right. So it was just such this weird dynamic around not quite understanding life anymore, because I felt like I was beginning to be crazy, or people out there were lying to me. He was the only truth teller. So it's just such a weird feeling that then once you're out of it, yeah, I feel like you almost kind of crave it, or when you don't have it, you're kind of looking for it. I always say the hardest relationship is the healthy one after a toxic one. Because I think people don't realize that, you can kind of tend to bring in your ugliness of a past relationship, to either maybe make it feel like it's toxic,
Yeah.
create things that are maybe not there. So yeah, I always feel like it's a hard thing to do, but once you're out of it and once you can kind of see that light, everything starts to kind of shift and change. It takes some time, and patience is very important.
Yeah. Well, I was in that kind of toxicity relationships over my entire life from when I was a child till I was 38.
Mm.
So I had a very long, long time of that was my normal. And especially the heaviness and the intensity of when I would meet someone in that love or the love bombing, it's like a drug. And that's why it's so hard to let go of that person or to let go of the idea of that person, is because on a chemical level in our body, when they first meet us, they put you up on a pedestal and they just give you so many compliments and put you on such a high that you hang around in that relationship because you're like, but the beginning was really good and I know he or she can be a good person. I know what's in them and I'm going to get it out of them. No, that person didn't even exist in the beginning. It's a facade, and what it is it's a mirror of you. So I'm interested to know how it looked at you, how it looked for you in the beginning, because the beginning for me would be with the toxic relationships I had with men, all looked the same. I'd meet them, there'd be this magnetic sexual chemistry that was just off the charts. I'd just meet someone and I'd be like, oh wow, I'm so connected to you, right? Then it would be like obviously the flattery and the compliments and the flirting and I could feel that butterflies in my tummy. I could literally feel like, woo, this high. It was like a high. And then what would happen is we'd talk about things and they'd say things like, I've never met anyone like you before. You're the most amazing woman in the world, blah, blah, blah. And then it would be quickly followed up by, they'd kind of tell a sob story.
Mm.
This happened, or this big event in my life happened, or I have this problem, or something that in the very early stages of meeting and dating someone is something that you go, oh my God, I can't believe that you've been through that. Or, oh my God, I can't believe that you shared that with me. Oh, let me tell you what I have been through. Or let me tell you all my hopes and dreams. Let me tell you my biggest fears and insecurities. As soon as they hear that from you, they know that you're wrapped around their finger. They go, aha. Gotcha. Because they will use your insecurity for me, like they'll use my insecurities against me, my hopes and dreams. Anything I've just said, did you experience any of that?
Yeah, I think when you say it like that, it started me to go kind of think back to the very beginning, and I just some of it resonated, and some I was like, hmm. But now for me, it's like maybe those were a lot of the things that that happened. When I was 24 too, so it was fresh off of some other things that had happened in my life too. So it was like anybody that gave me some sort of attention, or yes, I had gone through I got myself into some trouble. I got a DUI. I had some things where it was like, oh, I had these stories, and I think he related to, oh, this girl needs me.
Yeah.
And it is, it's that they feel like they're the victim, but yet they want to know that they have other people to be able to kind of make feel. For me, I felt always less than, even if my problems felt kind of like needed to be seen or heard. It was more like I would tell them, but it felt like it was just always skipped past, and then it could be something more around his life or something like that. So yeah, I think that's where I felt like I was never seen, heard, or understood for a very long time. And I feel like that, in those relationships, like you say, they just start out so different. And you start to kind of, share your life with somebody, and then you can kind of almost see through the BS pretty quickly. But I feel like a lot of times you don't really know how to understand it, so then you just believe that it's the truth. At
Well,
least that's how it was for me.
yeah. Yeah, same. The bullshit that drops, when you look back, I can see it all, but it was moments. Oh, look, what example can I share with you? Okay, so the guy that I moved to Australia for, it's not funny, Barbara, because I'm just laughing, going, okay. So I'd known him for a long time, and we finally got together, and it was long distance. I was in New Zealand, he was in Australia, and he'd fly over a couple of times, we'd see each other. But when he finally left his job and was the plan was, I'm going to stay in New Zealand with you until we work out what we're going to do. And within 3 days, he got totally written off because he was an alcoholic. And then when he would drink, he would gamble. Then when he'd gamble, he'd take drugs, and he'd go on like 3-4 day benders. And so I was so excited to see him. He came and stayed in New Zealand, and within 3 days he was off because he used to live there too, so he knew people. He was off for like a 3-day bender. Red flag, right?
Yeah.
Then just came back when he felt like it, and then broke down crying. He's saying, I've got a problem and stuff. And then the next morning he got up and was really angry and said, oh, I just need some time alone. And he was looking at a bus timetable. I'll never forget it. And I said, what are you looking at? And he just totally lost his shit at me again, another thing. And I was like, oh, what's wrong? He's like, I'm going down to, it was a part of a town called Tauranga, which is south of Auckland. And his ex-girlfriend lived there, right? But I was like, well, doesn't she live there? And he's like, no, no, she's away on a conference and all this kind of stuff. And he went for a few days and then came back and then just said to me, I'm flying out tomorrow and we're done. I'm going back home
Hmm.
and we're done. And that should have been the end of it, right? There's so many things in there. And then, when I dated someone else in between, he was just so all over it. He even got to the point where he rang my friends and my landlord and said, I'm trying to get hold of Barbara, like it's so important, I miss her and I love her, and told everyone all his sub stories to get my attention because he didn't like that I was dating someone else. Then
Mhm.
we finally got together, he was like, we need to give this a go, and we give it a go. I come over to Australia again, like for a holiday, and I was like, yeah, I want to move here. And as soon as I said that, he goes, oh, let's just think about it, eh? So if I look back, there were so many moments of red flags. And even when we first met in person, the very first time he flew over and went out for a nice meal and dinner and stuff. Yeah, it's just, they're so into you, but at the same time, they're not there. They're not vacant. And it's such a hard thing to look back on because I don't feel like an idiot because I didn't know any better, but
Mhm.
Mm, if I'm going to be really honest with myself here, I was definitely projecting what I wanted onto him. Like I was like, this is what I want. And I was basically not seeing the person who was in front of me. I wasn't
Mm.
listening to his words. I wasn't looking at his actions. I was already had decided in my head what this person was. So can you see the difference? Like I was like, oh, here you are. Okay, you're going to be this and that we're all going to be happy. But I wasn't actually paying attention to what was in front of me. Can you resonate with any of that?
Oh yeah. I think mine might be just a slight bit different in a way, but it's very similar. I think a lot of that happens. For me, I had so many red flags. I should have ended the relationship probably 6 months into our relationship, just with all the things that happened. But I always was saying, like, because I was the crazy person and so were the other people. He was always the truth teller. So for me, yeah, I feel like we tend to want to see them for who that we think they are, or that we want them to be. Because for me too, I had so much wrapped into it. Being 24 and adopting basically into a family of three children, and then owning a business with him, to literally, doing everything for that one person. I wanted to see him as a different person. I wanted him to see me for who I was, and what I could benefit for him and his business and his kids. Um, but in all of that too, Barbara, I mean, I became somebody that I wasn't.
Mm.
And so I think that's another thing that a lot of women do to, maybe try to appease, their partner or even a friend, to make it not look so bad on them, protect them, a little bit. I always knew in the heart of hearts that he was cheating on me, not once, twice, maybe three, maybe four, whoever knows how many times. But I always said, yeah, you're right. These people might be kind of making stories up, because we were influential people. So I thought, we're not celebrities, but we knew a lot of people. So I thought maybe it is just people wanting to not have us be happy. Um, so I think a lot of times we see red flags, but we also don't want to see them as red flags. We just want to see them as, okay, it's a part of life. Everybody has this, right? At least
Yeah.
that's how I felt. I didn't know that there was a different type of a life out there, besides, like you had mentioned prior. My whole life, I've never picked the right man. So it was always a constant. I thought, well, this is just kind of how relationships are, and this is the best that I can get. And I think a lot of times we're so comfortable in the reality of a relationship. But I always like to tell women, I would be better off alone and happy than with somebody and miserable.
It's like we don't honor ourselves as in we have values and beliefs and we're really good people and we're really loving people, but we put our thoughts, our values, our interests, our whole being aside for the other person and we put them first. And
Yep.
that's the beginning of losing ourselves. One thing I want to ask you is like, to be honest, I had no idea what red flags were until I was
Mhm.
38. I knew that things were off and I'd always question them to the point, like, I'm just going to be really honest here. This, if you've never been in it, you don't know, but there's a couple of examples with a partner I have used on a podcast before when I've been talking about this. So, when you know that they're cheating and you start playing detective and you even find things, I would find emails and I would still read it and go, oh, no, no, no. Or I would find text messages, or I would find like in the smoking ashtray, there would be cigarettes back in the day, everyone vapes now, but cigarettes with lipstick on it. It wasn't my
Yeah.
lipstick. I didn't smoke menthol cigarettes. And I'll be like, whose is this? And he's like, oh, don't be stupid. To the point where when I'd climb into bed at night, there'd be a glass on the table of like kind of empty water with lipstick on it. Wasn't mine. To the point where I'd climb into bed and one time there was fake tan on the sheets. wasn't mine. All of these things. I was just like, what? To the point where I was at having a pub lunch with one of my assistants and this guy that I was on, off, on, off. Again, that's another red flag, right? On, off, on, off.
Yeah.
I was dating on, off with this guy that I worked with. We're sitting at the pub. All his mates turn up, but they're sitting at the table kind of two down from me and my assistant. And we were talking, going, why are his mates all off? They were a bit weird, right? And then all of a sudden the other woman turns up who I kind of knew who she was and she knew who I was, and she turns up and is hanging with his mates. And I'm sitting there going, oh. And then all of a sudden I just see this kerfuffle of everyone just going, oh, it was just something out of a movie. All his mates were like weird. One of them came over and was trying to distract me. And I was like, what's going on? And I happened to look in the car park and I see his car driving and drive out of the car park. And I was like, oh. And then I felt my eyes like swell up. And my assistant was like, do you want to go? And I was about to cry because she could tell. And I was like, no, you know what we're going to do? Okay. And I think, good on you, Barbs. Like, I ordered another drink and I sat there for ages, probably another hour. I had to hold back my tears. I felt like I'd been kicked in the stomach. And it might have been longer than an hour. I just sat there and I said, no. I'm just going to make him wait. And then I left. And that's such a horrible feeling.
Mm-hmm.
The whole infidelity, and finding things or hearing things, or people would tell me, oh, I saw him with this chick, or I saw him with this person, or yeah. And when I went through his phone or his emails, the times that I could, there was always something there. I'd always find something and I'd always discount it. Because maybe I am crazy.
Yep, that's speaks through my soul. Yeah, I'm not really sure how to even explain that to anybody listening to this, because I think a lot of times, like we've said, in the heat of it, or when you're in the thick of it, and if you are in the thick of it and this is resonating to you, you have to remember that you are not crazy. You are not you're not the person that is to blame. And so I think my main thing here with this point that we're just honing into with, if you find something, it's the truth. If you have things that come up multiple times, it's the truth. I am just like you, Barbara. I had multiple times where people would say, I see him with this person. I ran into him. We were together and ran into a person he is now actually married to. So, when us women are very, very intuitive. And if there is something that feels off, you don't necessarily have to find it to have the proof. You just need to trust your instincts, trust your gut. And I will warn anybody that is in the heat of this and wants to, bring it up and ask, just be prepared that you will feel crazy. You will feel the person is okay and they're treating you the way that you should be treated. But just know that in the back of all of this, it's lies and deceit that they actually can't be truthful about. And they'll lie no matter what to you. And they want you to feel like you're the crazy person. They're the victim.
Yep.
Everybody's out to get them. So I just highly encourage anybody who is listening to this that if you are in the thick and you have heard anything that, Barbara and I have mentioned, that you reach out to somebody who's maybe been through it to be able to understand that it's better to talk it over with somebody who's been through it so that you can understand what the reactions are going to be, the actions they're going to take against you, and truly make you just feel like you're out of your own being. And that's when you start to lose yourself 100%. And then you start to not trust yourself. You have no self-confidence, no self-esteem, self-worth. Nothing is really there anymore because you feel like, okay, well, if you can do all of this to me and I can accept it or maybe just push it out that it's not believed or whatever, then you start to really truly lose who you are deep down inside. And that's what, my whole life right now is helping women understand that it's really hard to get out of. But you have to know that you deserve and are worthy of so much more. And there is someone out there who will either treat you like you are meant to be treated, or there's other things that you can find with self-care and self-love without having to have a partner in relationship. You can find it inside yourself. So that's really what I am on a mission to help women do, is understand that just because you're in a toxic relationship, or you have been in one, or you're out of one, and you're just trying to start swimming again, there is hope for women to lose it all, or feel like you can't ever open your eyes again to love or anything, that it is possible. So just know that you're not alone, and that there's people out there to support you and help you.
And it's so normal, that whole triangulation thing. So when you feel like he's coming home late, or he's addicted to his phone, or he won't ever leave his phone, or he puts his phone face down, or takes his phone to the toilet, or I don't know, whatever, you get that feeling. Yeah, that feeling is right. But the most important thing too is to know that there is nothing wrong with you, because what they're really good at doing is, when they know they've got you, they will just start being, I don't know if you remember the first moment within that 6 months you said that you should have left. Actually, can you remember a moment where you were like, oh my God, this guy? Like, can you remember a moment or a situation?
Multiple, yeah. We were fitness instructors, so we had crowds of women. So it wasn't very hard to spot more of a deep flirtation or a deeper connection. And so, yeah, I think truly, when I think back on it, I mean, the list is kind of almost disgusting. When I actually talked to a high school friend of mine and kind of told him a few things, he was like, "This is crazy," because it just became normal. It became the thing that it was just the next thing that I had to push under the rug to create this life I thought I was going to have, whether it be in a loving relationship or just having a successful business. And I really truly put my feelings aside and went more for, I can have a business. I can be successful. This is something that brought me passion and purpose in my life. And it really was the only thing that kept me alive, was being able to be the person I was when I was on like stage, so to speak, with the fitness part. And so, yeah, I think it's just crazy. The moment you feel it, the moment you see it, the moment like you said, just all the things about the phone, about this, that moment you feel it, go with it, and don't make excuses for somebody, because if I know we're not all perfect, and I've done maybe certain things before in my life where you think back and go, wow, if I did that to myself, would I like that? And if they're doing it to you and you don't like the way that they're treating you, you're the only one that has the power to stop it. It's hard, but you have to trust yourself and know that that's not an okay behavior to be treated that way. Once, twice, 100 times, it should never happen. And once it does happen, little by little, you feel less and less and less. And then you finally just feel like you can't live life anymore the way that it is. But just know that there is a lot of tools and a lot of tricks and a lot of things that you can do to love yourself, to get yourself into a healthy place, to get out of those relationships. I had to do that for myself before I could have the strength and the courage to walk away.
Yeah. Because this stuff is so normal for us, we normalize it. For me, it was like when I was with any of them and they would really stare at when I was with them, and I'll be having conversation with them, they'd literally just ignore me and look around the room and look for other women and look them up and down and stuff and give them his number. Like I had dated a couple of guys that when I was with them, they'd actually give their phone number to other women and say, call me. And I'm sitting right there with them. Is there one example that you can give? Because I'm trying to normalize this stuff rather than it sweeping under the carpet and stuff. When you're on stage or something, was there an example that you could share with someone that's maybe going through it that can go, oh my God, my partner or my ex or my husband does that? Like, what was he like around other women when he was with you?
Well, for me, it was actually one of those things where I am kind of an outgoing, loving, caring person, and he was able to do the flirtation and the excitement and the winking and the talking and because it was a dance class as well, so it was not necessarily touching and rubbing and groping, but just that flirtation around it. But the moment that if I were to, say hi to a friend I just met from high school or saw from high school, and it was a laughy and, oh my gosh, it's good to see you, those kind of things, it's like, what are you doing? You can't act like that. So I think it's like you were saying, that mirror, when they see the things that they do that are so manipulative and so awful, the moment they see the other person do it, they're like, ew, that's cringy. That's maybe me. They don't see it and they won't change. But I think they then make us feel like we're the ones who have the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many times it was, you know, if you want to look in my phone, you're looking for something and you could find it. And it was like, well, I never once in my life had to look in the phone. It was blaring. So it wasn't necessarily me hunting. It was me just learning or seeing for my own eyes and still not believing. So just know that I don't even think you have to look for signs in a phone. I think that a woman's gut and intuition is very strong. And I think if you feel like something is wrong or off, it probably is.
A big thing in these relationships is something called projection. And it's something that they actually, in my experience, again, I didn't know what I was looking for. I didn't know what it was. So, of course, I'm not going to see it when it happened. But I got accused of cheating so many times. I got accused of all sorts of things that in hindsight, like they actually tell you what they're doing. And when you feel like you're being attacked, they're actually showing their cards because they think they're bright. Then once you know how they work, they're actually really sad, lonely, empty human beings because they are incapable of love. They absolutely hate themselves. And that's why they have to move from person to person to person to pull all the energy out, and because they're incapable of they want to be us and they envy us because they can never have that heart and real feelings for anyone. So, yeah. Did you ever experience any type of projection? Like, were you ever accused of cheating or anything?
That's kind of funny. So I wasn't necessarily when we were together, no. But the moment that I decided to take control of my life and say I was done, I had met a high school friend for drinks, connected with him. And I needed it, Barbara, to know that there was an okay, or there was something out there for me other than this life. And of course, he was out of town and he came home and, rummaged through all my stuff, even though I had respected him, his entire infidelity, cheating, all the things. And he did find something that he said, oh, you cheated on me. And I said, well, the funny thing is I didn't necessarily cheat on you. I've known I'm going to break up with you this entire weekend. I needed to see for myself that I had worth and I was worthy of something than this life. And I found it. And that's what kind of pushed me out the door even more. So yeah, I mean, you get blamed for things that aren't necessarily true. Even for me, I would pack a bag and leave, and then he would know I'd come back because I just packed a bag and it was oh, I forgive you, or you're okay, let's not fight, things are fine. And then you would forgive everything, and you'd go right back to that whole vicious cycle of the toxicity that I was saying. Is you're just addicted to
Yeah.
the nastiness.
Yeah.
So
Addicted to it. And interesting that you shared that story with me. Thank you so much, because I had a similar experience. So if you always want to one up them, it doesn't work. So when I was with this guy, I knew he was like cheating on me. When I was out with some drinks with him one night, I had a guy follow me to the bathroom and give me his number. And he said to me, "You look really miserable. Here's my number." And I was like, "I'm actually with my partner." And he's like, "Oh my God, which one?" And he was like, "Oh," he goes, "if you ever want to come back into town, have a few drinks, hit me up." I told one of my girlfriends, and she's like, "Oh my God, just go. You need to have some fun. You need to get away from this guy." And so I did the following weekend, met up with him. We had pizza and drinks and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, just hung out with him and stuff happened. And then I was going to break up with the guy who was always never home and always cheating on me. And the ironic thing is, I'm pulling into my driveway about 5 a.m. The sun's coming up, and he is sitting on the back steps of our house having a cigarette, waiting for me to come home. And I get out of the car, and he's like right in my face, "Where the F have you been? Blah, blah, blah." And I was like, and I'm not a good liar. I was like, "Oh, I'm at a friend's house." He's like, "Whatever." And then I just turned around because I was done. I said, "Oh, hang on. So it's okay for you to do it, but when I do it, and he just went, "Yeah, exactly. That's right, Barbara." And then we were over. So even if you
yeah.
think that you're smarter than them, even if you try and play them at their game, it always comes back on you. So don't. Even when you say to them, "I know you're a narcissist," or "I've been to a therapist and I know," don't even bother going down that track, because they'll flip it around some way, and they will use the big parts in the beginning when you were vulnerable and you shared how you feel about yourself, your hopes and dreams. They will flip it around and say something very hurtful. And because when we're attached to these types of people, the trauma bond is what keeps us attached to. They have this ability to do something to our brains that make us addicted to them, that we could just see them in traffic. We can just see them years later. Something will remind us of them, and it will flick a switch in our brain that makes us miss them or think of the nice times, or this is what I mean. This is so deep, deep unconscious conditioning that they have done. It doesn't, we can just meet with them one time and all this bond can be formed. So that's what I mean. You can't just go, "Oh, I'm going to leave by." They have manipulated us, fed us a story of what we want because it's a mirror. But that trauma bond is this kind of, I always say to my clients, it's like this wiring in our brain that we're kind of attached to them. And that's why it's so hard to let them go. But when we do see them at the supermarket or we see them with someone else, we really need to work at breaking that tie. And
Mhm.
one final thing too that I want to talk about is this whole triangulation thing with other women. Far out. It just breaks you, breaks your self-esteem. They might start using a woman's name and going, "Oh, I don't like her. She's this or she's that." That's the person that they're trying to court. And the hard thing is um, when you know that there's other women, they will talk about them and talk badly about them, but they're hanging out. You know what I mean? Like, it's a hard thing to explain, but they always try and, when you know that they've cheated on you, and you find out who it is and you look at them, you just pick yourself apart. And the other woman is just us. They're really nice people. They have been sucked in, but they work us for us to hate the other woman and it's their fault. No, no, no. They're just another version of us. And that's where us as women in a community need to get together and be like, don't hate on the other woman. They're not prettier than us. They're not better than us. We're all equal, but they have been sucked in too. And that's why when they meet the new supplier or they meet someone else, they dog us to them saying we're the crazy ones. So if we ever reach out to them and try and warn them or try and tell them, they've already got a story that, "Oh, if Barbara reaches out, that's right, she's really crazy."
Yeah.
But that whole other
That's
woman thing and picking ourselves apart and looking at the photos, I know my younger clients do it all the time. Oh, I think he's with this girl, and they're so good at online detective. It's great. It's just insane how people can be, oh, look, this is the car that they drive, and look at her, and do you think she's pretty and all this? And we need to take a few steps back and go, hang on, this person's treating us like dirt. We are good enough. But we're too busy looking at the other people that they're hanging out with, and they're better than us, they're prettier than us. He's finally going to have everything that I've ever wanted with him. He's going to change. They do not change.
no, they will never change. I think that's a huge part for us to, as women, to know that, yeah, you think that it's you, it's actually them, the insecurity around themselves, like you said, that they just need to find the love somewhere else to keep their ability to do that to other women. And they will not change. And I think it's important for us as women to know that, yeah, the other woman is just caught up in the lies and manipulation. I mean, I'm a victim of the fact that he was divorced, or he was this. And you as a girl, you don't know, and I guess you don't know all the facts, and you get yourself into things that you shouldn't. But I think to kind of just like full circle it goes down to not trusting them and trusting your own self and believing in the fact that what you see or what you feel is true. And when you feel those things is the time to understand, to pull back and kind of look from the outside. As soon as you start seeing a red flag or even maybe a yellow flag that's starting to turn red, trust those intuitions, trust those gut instincts around all of it, and start reaching out to people that have either been through it, or that you can trust, and just walk through it together, and build some confidence and self-strength or inner strength around it so that you can survive from it. Because really, truly, anybody who has been in a toxic relationship, even if you're in the thick of it right now, you're a survivor. You will survive this. You will get through it. And just remember, the one person that matters the most is you and who you are, and you will be able to come out of this stronger, and really truly be able to find who you are as that person, because your past doesn't define you. It refines you into the person that you're meant to be. So I just really wanted to take some time to meet you, Barbara, and understand that we all have the similar stories. They're different, but it's great to connect with other women who have been through it. And we can continue to share our passion and our purpose with other women, and let them know that it will all be okay. And life will one day look different for you. And never give up on yourself, and trust your own instincts, and get out of the muck, and realize that it might take a little bit of time, but life does truly turn magical again. So
It does, and you're not crazy. Like no woman is crazy. You ever are dating someone and you ever hear those words, oh, they're crazy? No one is. So that's a really big thing that I want people to take away. Also, at the end of the relationship, the only way, I know it's a little bit different when you've got children with someone, but then again, it's minimal contact. The only way you can get through this is by no contact, by blocking them on everything, not letting them into your life, not letting them know what you're doing, because these people circle back
mm-hmm.
a year, 2 years later, and they'll just send you a little message or I miss you or something, because what they're doing is they're just putting a little crumb out to go, oh, I wonder if they will still entertain me.
Mm-hmm.
And in that day, they probably sent that same message out to 10 other chicks at the same time,
Yeah.
I've literally seen that when I was living with a guy, and the one time I could go through his phone, and I don't make a habit of it. When you're in a healthy relationship, there's no need to go through someone's stuff. But when you feel like, oh my God, I need answers, something is telling you something. I went through someone's phone, and literally we were at a work dinner together, sitting across the table from each other, while I was sitting with him. And this guy was a lot older than me too, right? So it's kind of like I had no self-esteem. I had no self-worth, clearly. I'll honor that. he had messaged 8 or 9 women. Hey babe, how are you? Are you up to anything tonight? I'd love to come over and, kind of have some sexy time and cuddles. And that same message was sent out to 8 or 9 different women. The only reason why he was sleeping next to me and at home with me was because I don't think anyone replied to him that particular night. So just know that sometimes when someone sends you a message, that message has been replicated and sent to many other women. But when you don't know what you don't know. So, but the main takeaway, I think, is to listen to your gut, listen to your intuition. You're not crazy. And also they will isolate you. So you may not have anyone to talk to. So reach out to Maggie, reach out to me, reach out to anyone that has been through this before, and we will help you through it, because you almost probably don't want anyone to know what you're going through. Your workmates, your friends, your family, you'll hide it. You won't, because there was a point where you're crying wolf. You've said, I'm going to leave them. You do, and you go back. So then you feel like, well, I'm embarrassed and I'm going to hide it because, I don't want anyone to know. But then that really isolates us. And we do feel like, I know this is not good for me. I need to get out. We do need people to help us.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's very true. You might burn bridges with people who really do truly care about you. So just know that there's other people out there that have been there before and know the whole song and dance around it. So I just want to thank you, Barbara, for letting me come on your podcast and share some of my story. I think a lot of times we don't want to share all the goods so that we have some time to interact with other people and learn from each other. So I just appreciate you having me on, and I hope I inspired or have encouraged someone to leave the relationship that they have known for a long time they need to. And if you're in that sticky moment right now and you need some extra help, please reach out. So thank you so much, Barbara.
Oh, my pleasure. And you have this beautiful business, The Power Within Her. Can you just share where people can find you so they can reach out and have a chat with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have a Instagram page that I have called Power Within Her Inc. Reason why I chose Power Within Her is the power is within all of us as women. We just have to dig a little deeper sometimes to find it. So I have made that page be about inspiration, uplifting content for mindset and self-development and self-confidence. And I would love to connect with anybody on there. Please feel free to DM me anything that you have questions over. And again, powerwithinher.inc. And thank you again, Barbara.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing your story. Not many people are brave enough to talk about it. And obviously when we talk about it, we do relive it. Our body does relive it. So thank you for having the courage and for talking about something that I know we need to normalize. The more we talk about it, the more people are aware of it, the more people will go, oh, this isn't normal. This isn't healthy. So thank you very much for the chat today.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I hope this conversation has added value to your self-care journey and inspired positive changes in your life. If you enjoyed this episode, consider sharing it with a friend who might benefit from this episode. Don't forget to subscribe on Spotify or on your favorite podcast platform to stay up to date on future episodes. Your support means the world to me. I genuinely love hearing from you, so please take a moment to leave a review. Let me know which part of today's episode resonated with you the most. Your feedback guides the direction of this podcast, and I really appreciate each and every single one of you for being a part of this community. To fall in love with yourself is the first secret to happiness. To find out a bit more about the Studio Chat podcast, head over to my Instagram page, Studio Chat Podcast, or if you want to find out a bit more about my counselling private practice, head over to Instagram on self_care_studio, or head over to my website, selfcarebybarbaraThompson.com.au. I'm really looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. Until next time, take care of yourselves and keep embracing the journey of self-discovery.